we're going to take an in-depth look at Oakland, California's first ranked choice voting election. Immediately after the election, many news reports talked about confusion with the voters, so much so that it could have affected the election. This was not uncommon, as San Francisco also had a lot of confusion as reported. The San Francisco Examiner called it an undemocratic nightmare. An investigative report showed that low-income voters were the most disenfranchised. In reviewing the Oakland's ranked choice voting election, we're going to hear from a few voters, talk about how the counting of the ballots happened, and how the results were obtained. We're going to see how the shuffling of votes can change the results unexpectedly. This is due to the three-card Monte effect of vote shuffling. But first, let's hear from some voters in their own words.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, yes. That was complicated because they asked you once and twice, and I was wondering what the third time was about. Why? I've been voting for many years.
And you found that part confusing?
Yes, I found that confusing.
Here's a quick breakdown of the voting that day. 119,607 voters cast ballots that day. Parada won the popular vote. This was before employing the complex ranked choice voting algorithm that they used to shuffle the votes around. Let's take a look and see what happens with the ranked choice voting algorithm. By the 9th round, we see that there's only 3 candidates left. Because Kaplan has the lowest amount of votes, she's going to be eliminated. We know from the election data that 6,407 Kaplan supporters had ranked Parada and 18,864 voters had Kwan next. So let's go ahead and redistribute those votes and see who won. Parada is going to get the 45,465 votes plus the 6,407 for a total of 51,872. Whereas Kwan, with her total, she gets 53,897 and Kwan wins in the 10th round. Initially, we see some problems with this because the loser in the popular vote becomes the winner. We also see that not all ballots are counted in the final tally and that your vote will count against your favorite candidate. And finally, the winner is not selected by a majority of voters. 119,607 voters came out to vote that day. So taking majority support would be 59,804 votes would be needed to win. Let's look at the breakdown. Kwan received 53,897 votes. That's only 45.06% support. Surely not a majority winner. This was the first time in over 60 years that Oakland elected a mayor without the support of the majority. All mayors were elected with majority support since 1949 with Clifford E. Rochelle. Let's have a little scenario where just adding a few votes can totally alter the election. Imagine Kaplan was able to get more voters to come out to vote just for her. They wanted to vote for her and only her, and raise the banner of anybody but Parada. She was able to round up 2,400 more supporters. Now, let's take a look at the calculations. By adding 2,400 votes to her total, she would now receive 35,119 votes. Now, Kwan is the lowest vote getter, and she would be eliminated. We know from the Register of Voters that some of her supporters, 17,200, had Kaplan next in the ranking, and 8,348 had Parada next in the ranking. With Kwan eliminated, we'll go ahead and redistribute her votes and see who wins the election, with 2,400 more voters for Kaplan. Parada comes in with 45,465 votes plus the 8,348 for a total of 53,813. And Kaplan in the end comes up short with only 52,319 votes. Therefore, Parada wins in the 10th round. So let's look at the dynamics here. Kaplan received more support, more votes were added to her pile. And Kaplan voters did not vote at all for Parada. They didn't rank him anywhere. But Parada wins. So there you have it. You have one election with the stack of ballots where Kwan wins, but by adding 2,400 votes just for Kaplan and nobody else, you have a completely different result, and that would be Parada wins, just by adding 2,400 votes for Kaplan. This would have also occurred if Parada had 1,500 of his supporters not vote for him and instead vote for Kaplan. This would have increased her vote total to 34,219 votes. Then all she would need to do is get 900 more supporters that came out, much less than the 2,400. Once again, Kwan is eliminated and her votes are redistributed to the two remaining candidates. 17,200 for Kaplan and 8,348 for Parada. Once again, the results are going to be the same. After the vote distribution, with Parada getting less support and Kaplan getting a little more support, Parada comes out as the winner in this election. Unlike any other election, Parada could have won this by reducing his vote total and adding a few more votes for Kaplan. By doing so, Kwan would lose and Parada would win this election. So we can see from the election results, a loser can ultimately win, but you can also win by losing support and others gaining support.